Does this one work at least? Okay, there's something, but this isn't the one that I've usually been using, because I've been using this one. Okay, well, my other webcam is apparently completely frozen, so I don't know what's going on with it. I guess it's okay that it's on this one right now, because I've got my music in my headphones right now. I don't know what's going on with my other webcam now. I don't know what's happening. This is really like my favorite part of the stream thing, where everything is the same every time I start and it's a surprise every time what it's gonna do. Especially because I just had OBS on before I started and it was working. And now that you guys are there, it's not. Only part of me is moving? Huh? Hi, Jay. Things are being weird like they always are. Even though I don't change things in between streaming. Alright, let's plug in. Hello? Alright. I see myself moving. Do you guys see me moving now? Okay. Maybe it'll let me change the audio to that one now. Alright, there it is. Okay. Oh, we're good now? The Great British Baking Show. Oh, yeah, Pounce is on my lap. I'll give her some music too. Okay, so let's see what happens if I take out this headphone now. Alright. Well, it's doing the thing where it picks up the desktop audio without. Nope, it's not doing the thing. I really hate when I get this to work and then it stops working. Alright, apparently I'm gonna need to use headphones today because I don't understand. Alright. Hopefully I don't have to move too much and I can just wear headphones. This random starting thing is getting old. This last time I just put a noise gate on the webcam audio and then I used the webcam audio. There. And then the noise gate made it so that it didn't pick up the desktop audio when I didn't use headphones. But this time it's not doing it. And I don't know why anything changed from last time. But it did. Okay, so, is it okay right now? Yeah, apparently one does not simply stream on Twitch. And let's go to the usual shuffle. Alright. Okay, good. If this is good for now, then this is what we'll do for now. And I'll have to deal with headphones. Yeah, so it's an All Real Monster shirt. We just got this at Acon. Ori found it when, I guess it was during the Sailor Pluto photo shoot meetup part of the day, or
that, or whenever it was that.
oh, at some point in time when we were split up, because when I did my Sailor Pluto photo shoot, I went off on my own to do that, and then there were some panels that I wanted to go to that were sewing related that Ori didn't really want to go to, so I went to the panels, and then he found the shirt in the dealer's room and got it for me. But it was really fun. I ended up having a photo shoot all 3 days by accident. So Friday I had a photo shoot on purpose that I paid for Sailor Pluto. And where's my phone? I don't know if it's over there, if it's in the bathroom. I think it might be over there. I don't think I brought it in the bathroom. But I have previews. Previews from the first year. So this is the one, anybody, here maybe this one's better, maybe if anybody is, oh god, I'm like trying to focus the thing, but it's like on the wrong thing that I'm trying to focus because this needs to focus and not my phone. Focus camera. Does this one like it better? Maybe this one likes it better. So this is the one where on my Instagram, I had mentioned that I fell on my butt, and I also mentioned it in my vlog. So I posted a vlog from Friday and Saturday so far on my YouTube channel, if you guys haven't seen them yet. But this was the one I fell on my butt for. So pretty much like 30 seconds after this happened, I fell over, and my ankle gave out, and I completely fell on my butt. But I didn't break my body, and I didn't break the costumes. And we managed to get this shot. And then after it happened, I was like, yes, we got it. But then I was like, wait, what is my face doing? Is my face okay before we move on? And then luckily my face wasn't doing anything stupid. So this is one of the ones I'm gonna have her edit. So, yeah. So that was the one I fell on my butt for. Then this is another one. And then this one, there were actually the group of Sailor Moon cosplayers that were hosting the meetup afterwards. They were actually like right nearby when we were taking these photos, and Ashley knows them, so she and she was also the photographer for the meetup too. So anyways, since they were right next to us, she asked the Sailor Jupiter to help us out and throw my wig violently to get some swooshy hair pictures. So that's another one. And then we also got swooshy hair on this one. I like swooshy hair. And that one's like more of a close-up one that I liked. I only like skipped 1 week. The week before that was A-Con. So yeah, those are some of the previews that I was gonna have her edit. Those are some of the choices that I picked. And then on Saturday, I started posting some of these on my Instagram. On Saturday, a photographer caught me when I was in Jareth Cosplay, and he took my picture once in the dealer's room, and then later on in the day, he found me again and was like, hey, do you want to like go do a quick photo shoot like over at the other hotel that was part of the convention, like in the lobby? So I was like, yeah, okay. So those turned out really well, and it was really fun. So you can see them better on my Instagram. I posted this one there. But yeah. And also I shared them from my Facebook page too. But his Facebook page is Blue Lanyard Photography. I've also noticed that when I say the word photography, I tend to say like photographer. Because I kind of said it like that in the vlog, and now I notice myself saying that more. I don't know why I have a problem saying that word. So, either find it through my page or go to his page and you can see them more clearly than right now. And then on Sunday, since at that point, we had like sent each other our pages so we could message each other. So on Sunday, we had said that if we had a chance, I told him I'd be in L cosplay, so we had said if we ran into each other or had time, we could also take some pictures in my L cosplay, so we did that too. And like, I like this one so much. That one, and I also really liked this one with like the tri-Pocky. I haven't posted this one yet on my Instagram, but it's in the photo album, so So yeah, if you want to see more of those and see them more clearly, they're on Facebook. And yeah. So those were kind of like the highlights for me throughout the weekend. So I'm really glad that that happened by accident. But he said that he normally goes to Anime Expo and A-Kon every year. So if we go to A-Kon again next year, maybe I'll be able to take more pictures with him again. Ugh. I was gonna put my foot on the chair, and then I remembered that I need to start sewing at some point, and then I'm gonna need to have my foot on the pedal, so never mind. And I also got to meet a few more cosplayers that I've been following. I met Kamui Cosplay, and I met Allison Tabitha, who's the one that does the Jack Sparrow costumes that I told you guys about last time. The one that does, like, super spot on, like, she looks like she popped out of the movie. That one. I met her. And I met up with Quantum Destiny again and got to say hello again. Yeah, and then I went to a panel by Sparkle Pipsy, who is the one who put out the tutorials for the Sailor Moon costumes, so I used a lot of her tutorials when I made Sailor Pluto, so I got to say hi to her and thank her for making tutorials. And I think that's it. I think those are all the ones that I met throughout the weekend. I could probably make her lay on the pedal, but I don't think that would help. Okay, so anyway. I guess I should sew some things now. So, I worked on this a little bit off stream to make it fit me better, since I have to like keep taking it off and putting it on and trying it on. I can't really like be naked on stream, so so I kind of did some more of that on my own, and I took out the temporary stitches that I had done and sewed them back with the permanent stitches. So for the most part, the body of it fits me now. I just need to finish the ankles and the part that's gonna cover the shoes, and I need to make the turtleneck, and then I also need to sew the second sleeve on. So right now it just has one sleeve. And yeah. So I guess I'm gonna start off with sewing that sleeve in. Goodbye, headphone. Ugh. But yeah, here's like one sleeve. So it has like real seams now. And turn this inside out again. So yeah, it's still like not sewn together all the way down the ankle yet, because I need to make them thinner and then stretch them out over the shoes. And then I still have to change the shape of this over my hand so it does that triangle kind of thingy. But I guess I'm mostly just gonna like fold the edges in so that it would end up being kind of more like that-ish. I don't know if that makes sense right now. Link Wolf. Oh no, part of me is like, maybe I should make an easier name, but I don't want to change my name, so... Alright, so... here's the sleeve sewn on from the inside. I need to trim these down so that there's not as much extra left over. So... that's what I did on all of these seams. So after you sew it together, you cut down the extra so there's not that much extra hanging off. Because otherwise it adds extra bulk on the inside. So this is still like 1/2 inch from the stitches to the edge. So now I gotta cut it. So pretty much after you sew a seam, before you sew other seams, you want to go and trim them. Because like, if I didn't trim the side seam before I sewed the sleeve on, which I think was something I did with my L shirt by accident, I started sewing it all together and I didn't trim the side seam first, and then once you sew it down, this gets sewn over the side seam right here, so I couldn't trim from here, so it was kind of like fat here and then skinny after it. So that's one of the things to remember, is that you need to trim your seams before you move on to other seams. So yeah, let me see. I think this will be easier for me to do if I pull the sleeve this way. Okay. There. So now I'm just gonna trim this shorter. I have to Teletubbies. And like different fabrics are gonna need different ways of trimming the seams, and like different areas might need to be trimmed differently. Like if you're going around a curve, some fabrics don't like to curve, so you'll have to cut little like triangle shapes into the extra fabric, the seam allowance, because that allows the fabric to like be able to like twist apart from itself, because there'll be a space where that triangle is and then it'll curve better. For this it's all just really stretchy and all, so I'm just gonna trim everything short. I just need to be careful that I don't actually cut the sleeve at all. This one right here. Okay. I don't know if that's any better. But yeah, I'm gonna sew this other sleeve in, and then hopefully make the turtleneck, and then I might need to go to bed. But we'll see what time it is. This is like really scary because I feel like I'm somehow gonna cut into the sleeve by accident. Because with the side seams I could just like lay it flat like this and then just go me 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 me. But now it's round, so I can't just like lay it flat and know that I'm not gonna cut anything. 미칠 것 같아. And I'll probably post Sunday's vlog by next weekend, if not sooner than that. Okay. Hopefully I didn't get too close right there on the armpit. Because you also don't want to cut too close, because then the fabric might end up slipping out through the stitches, and then you'll have a hole. Alright, so there's sleeve number 1. So, like last time when I originally sewed the sleeve on, you can kind of have your main piece inside out or right side out. You pretty much just, at least I think that's how it goes. I'm pretty sure you can do it either way. You just have to flip the other one the opposite way. So you need the part that's going to be the outside fabric needs to be touching the part that's going to be the outside fabric. So the part that's going to be the outside of the sleeve is going to need to touch the part that's going to be the outside of the main body part. So right now, this is inside out. So right now, if I put my sleeve in there with my sleeve being inside out, because what you do is you stick the sleeve wrist first into the armhole, so that when you pull it all the way through, now you've got the sleeve opening from your shoulder in the shoulder part. But if I do it like this right now, with this inside out and this inside out, right now that means that the inside of the sleeve is going to be connected to the outside of the body, so it'll be an inside out sleeve when I flip it the right way around. So you actually, since I have my main piece inside out, I need to flip my sleeve the right way out, so that now when I put my sleeve in here, it's literally the outside fabric touching the outside fabric. So that way it'll be the right way when I wear it, and I won't have an inside out sleeve. So pretty much if you had this right side out, then you would put the sleeve inside out. So they need to be like the opposite of each other. It would be easier to show you real quick if this wasn't a whole one-piece thing, because if this was like cut right here, I could like lift this up and be like, see, it'll look like this, but I can't really. But that's kind of the general rule when you're sewing, unless you're doing like French seams. So unless you're doing something fancy, then whenever you're sewing, you're gonna want right sides facing each other, and right sides means the side that's gonna be on the outside that's going to be seen. Yeah, that's how it goes.
And then I'm gonna start off by matching up the armpit seam so that when it sews together, they'll match really nicely like how it is on this side. So that you get one continuous line from the armpit of the body part and then the armpit of the sleeve, so that you have one nice straight seam that goes continuously through it. So that's the first part that I'm going to pin together to make sure that that part lines up, because that's the most important part to line up. And in this case, I'm also gonna have the seam allowance open up to both sides, like to opposite sides. Sometimes, like, patterns will say to smush all the seam allowance, like push both sides of it in one direction or the other direction, depending on what you're making. I'm just gonna have them open in this case. And if I was a more advanced sewer, I could give you specific examples of when you should do one or the other or whatever, but I just feel like for right now this is going to work. Just trying to think how I want to pin it. Because yesterday I put the pins on the outside, but then I ended up setting it in my machine this way so that I was sewing on this side instead of sewing it from the outside, because it was hard to fit the sleeve over my machine. So I'm gonna put the pins on the inside part so that makes it easier. And I'm also gonna try and make sure that the pins, when they come back out, like I put them in the fabric from the very edge, but then when I'm poking them back out of the fabric, I'm trying not to grab too much fabric, like trying not to have too much fabric in between, so that when I come back out of the fabric, I'm still gonna be like within the seam allowance, so that there's less of a chance of me putting holes in the part that's going to be seen. So I try not to catch a wide gap of fabric in between. This won't help at all. Not really. No, I have work tomorrow, but I usually end up being awake until 2 o'clock in the morning anyway, so I kind of didn't wake up today until like 6 p.m. Like, I first started to wake up around 2, but I didn't feel like waking up yet, so then I gave in and went back to sleep. Okay, so now I'm kind of folding this in half, because I don't have a mark for where the middle of my sleeve is. So now I'm just kind of folding it in half to see where the top half, like the top center would be, and then I'm going to match it up with the seam on the top. Normally if you actually buy a pattern and you're going off of your pattern, it'll have marks on the sleeve and on the body for where they're supposed to actually like line up together. It'll put like a little, they'll have like a little dot, and you mark over that dot onto your fabric so that when you sew it together, you know where it's supposed to go together. But since I kind of was making this pattern from scratch, I didn't do that. But it's fine. So then I just kind of try and fit them together, and then I'll pin at the center of both sides first. And pretty much I'm doing it this way, like going to you do the armpit first because you need that seam to line up, because you'll see it on the outside lining up together or being completely off from each other, so that will be like an eyesore if it's off. So start off with that, and then I do the top, and then I do each side so that the fabric is like evenly spread out throughout the sleeve, so it's not like really stretched at one part of the sleeve and really loose at the other part of the sleeve. That way it's all like equally fit in there. And that's the same thing that I'm gonna do for the turtleneck. It's the same thing I did for the collar when I made my L shirt. "92 pages of Steam games. That's a lot." Well, Jay, that's like later than you used to be awake, isn't it? I'm gonna move these over here. I don't ever buy games from Steam. I mostly play console games, and pretty much I just play Nintendo console games. Or he always buys games off of Steam. He has like a bajillion games that he buys on sale from Steam and then doesn't really ever play them.
I only have about 120.
He has 120 games on Steam. He's probably played like 5 of them for like 5 minutes each.
You may play like 20%.
I think I might actually add more pins than I did on the other sleeve, because I had trouble with the other sleeve where the two sides didn't want to stay together exactly, and I kept wanting to be like, instead of being like directly in line with each other, they kept wanting to do like this. Actually, it was like this. The bottom one kept wanting to go like this, and the top one kept wanting to go like this. So it was like, and then the fabric kept wanting to be bunchy, kind of like how right now when it's just sitting here, this is all bunchy looking. So as I'm sewing, I have to keep like kind of pulling on it to like get it flat and like flattening it out as I go. So it was kind of a pain. Yeah. I'm still planning on getting a capture card and then seeing if I can stream some Breath of the Wild. Frizzle! Hello! With the giant host. Hi guys! I don't know how many of you guys know me anymore, because I still make appearances in Faraz's channel. But I started watching Faraz in like around October of 2015. Yeah. So I know I knew you guys back then. I don't know how many of the rest of you still know who I am really, but maybe you've seen me appear in the chat sometimes. But hello, hi, this is me. We're making a bodysuit. And we're trying to sew a sleeve together here, like this. Thanks for the raid, guys. This is probably going to be like the highest viewer count I've ever had at one point in time. We are making this person. Oh, Jay. So we just got raided by Faraz. Faraz is one of my streamer friends. When we went to TwitchCon with that big group of people, he was one of the people that was there. Yeah. So pretty much on Twitch, somebody else can host you, and so Faraz probably just stopped streaming, and when you end your stream, you can like host someone and send all your current viewers on a raid to that person, and then normally there's a raid message and everyone will join the chat at the same time and spam the raid message so that the streamer knows that they've just been raided. So yeah. So Faraz has a bajillion viewers these days, so he just brought them all here. Thanks for the raid, Faraz. Alright. And welcome, guys. Thanks for raiding. So yeah. Oh, Seeking, it's okay, you still appeared. Faraz, go eat. Thanks for hosting and raiding with all of the peoples. Okay. So I'm currently pinning a sleeve into the bodice part of my bodysuit. I occasionally sing in little bursts. I haven't as much as I did before, I feel like. But I kind of... Part of the problem is I end up streaming really late, so then I can't really sing loud because I live in an apartment surrounded by other people. And then I also... I don't know, I guess I'm more embarrassed lately because I don't really sing as much anymore in general, and I've noticed my voice kind of getting rusty on me. Like, I'll be singing in the car, and I won't really be able to sing the same stuff that I could a few years back when I had still just gotten out of college. But yeah, I used to be a voice major, so I used to do the singing thing, but I don't really do the singing thing much at all outside of singing to myself in my car. So, oh, hi, Pi. Okay, so. Oh. Alright, let's stick this thing into the sewing machine. Also, I'm like blind, and my glasses prescription is really out of date, so that's why I'm always like, what are you guys saying? I don't know, is there feedback? Hi, I've never seen that word before in my life. And I guess if I had to guess how it might be pronounced, it might be like pulchritudinous? Like, what even is that? Is there like weird stuff happening? Because I got headphones in and everything, like a real person this time. If the sound still hates me, then I'm cursed. Hmm.
Sounds like a fan.
Oh. It might be our obnoxiously loud air conditioning.
No, it sounds like a laptop fan. I don't know if it might be AC, but I doubt it. It sounds more like
I'm using the mic from this though, which is farther away from my laptop.
because the mic is pointed that way.
I don't know. I'm not paying attention to things. Who just followed and stuff? Thank you for the follow. I heard something happen anyway. My bot used to like, if I open
Your bot?
Outbot, it normally would like put a little thing and be like, this person just followed you, and I'd be like, yay, now I know who to thank. And it doesn't do it anymore, and I don't know why. But whoever you were, thank you. Also, for anybody else who followed during the raid, thank you. I mean, there's a spot I can go to where it lists the people that followed, but normally it would say it like in the chat. Okay, there's like the list. Na, 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 na. Alright, looks like Lepus and Seeking. So thank you. Na, 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 na. Oh, yeah, that's already over there and talking. I'm trying to keep this over this way so that you can't see him right there, but he's sitting in a chair right there. Alright. Let's see if we can sew the sleeve in here. I need to change my font because I can't read it, but it looks pretty. Let me go back to the list. Okay, that was a 9. I don't know how to say that. 9 Omi. Thank you for the follow. Ugh. Let me find my foot pedal. And then we also gotta make sure that we set our stitch to the right stitch. There's numbers in there, but you can't see them. But I can see them. And right now it says 0. They correspond to these. So right now I want to use this one. It's a zigzaggy stitch and it makes things stretchy. So I'm gonna change the buttons that you can't see. Oh, that's not helping. That's also not helping. Alright. Well, just pretend it says number 3 now. And yeah. Okay, so when I pinned the sleeve together, the first thing I pinned together was the armpit seam so that it lines up correctly with like the side seam of the shirt. So like this, so that the straight line going down the sleeve looks like it continues directly into the body. So that's where I'm going to start sewing first so that it doesn't end up being pushed out of place as I sew around the sleeve. And normally when you're sewing a sleeve, you can like stretch the sleeve around this thing, but apparently I have really tiny arms and my sewing machine is kind of too fat for my sleeve to fit around it. So I'm gonna have to do it like this, where I'm kind of sticking it on this way instead, and then I'm gonna go around. And if it's as annoying as the other sleeve was, I'm gonna have to stop like every 5 seconds to fix the fabric because it gets bunchy underneath of it. And then I have to keep like pulling everything out of it. And let me do that, maybe. And that. I don't use the bobby pins for voodoo. But see, like if I feel this right now, I can feel like this little bump under here. So I have to keep like feeling it as I go and smoothing it out so that I don't end up with fabric bunches sewn into it, because that's not good. So I don't know how exciting this will be to watch. And at the same time, I don't want to stretch it too much, because that'll make it turn out weird too. Because generally, you don't want to like overstretch your fabric while you're sewing it. Alright, so let's smooth over here now. And if I did end up sewing a little bunch into it, I can rip the seam back out and like fix that part, but I want to try not to have to do that, especially because I'm using the stretchy stitch. It's a lot more difficult to take back out than a straight stitch is. They like to get like really locked in there, and they can be a super pain to get back out of the fabric. So I'm gonna try to not have that happen. Okay, so I think this is flat. So I'm gonna hold onto the threads while I put the needle down, because sometimes if you don't hold on to these, like the ends of the thread, if you don't hold on to them when you first start sewing, instead of like pulling it from the machine down into the fabric, it'll end up pulling from here, and it'll just like pull on these instead and just like pull them out of the needle, or it'll make your first stitch look really weird. So I'm gonna take these pins out now, because I also don't want to sew over them because it could potentially break the needle. And I also have to remember to look out for my thread that's in here. So sewing machines work with 2 threads. There's one that comes from the top, that comes from the needle, and then there's one that gets drawn up through the bottom. And that's what makes like both sides of the stitching kind of. And then the threads kind of lock together, and that's what makes a stitch. So when that runs out, I'll have to like add more, and it's getting kind of low, so I need to pay attention to that so that I don't start sewing without any thread, because then nothing will happen. And then it'll be really sad if I sew a lot and then find out that nothing was happening. Alright. Alright. And then I also want to hit this little button up here. It's a backstitch button. Normally on a regular straight stitch, it'll make the machine sew backwards, but this time, since it's a zigzag stitch, instead of sewing backwards, it just sews in place like that. And what that does is it knots the thread in place so that it doesn't come back out. So you gotta do that at the start of a stitch and at the end of a stitch. Otherwise, the threads don't really have anything holding them in. Then when you stretch it on your fabric, it's just gonna pull them right out. So, I do that first. And then now I can actually sew forward. Let me try this so that my hand isn't in the way. And then I'm gonna be like feeling right here as I go so that I can keep track of whether or not there's anything bunchy coming up. And with stretch stitches, I actually sew faster than usual because there's so much zigzagging going back and forth that it takes more going back and forth to actually move anywhere. So the fabric, even though it sounds like I'm sewing real fast, the fabric is moving really slowly. They teach sewing in college if you're like a seamstress taking sewing classes, but I went to YouTube to learn how to sew. And then, yeah, like I said before, I'm trying to make sure that the two layers of fabric are still lined up with each other because they're going to want to slide apart from each other. Alright. But this is all the stuff that I've learned from YouTube so far. And from other cosplayers like Quantum Destiny, who just graduated from school with like a fashion design degree. So, the people that do know what they're doing make the tutorials, and then I learn what I'm doing. There's like a bump under here. And then I'm also trying to line up, there's a line right here that I'm following, so I'm trying to keep the edge of my fabric along this line so that I know that I'm staying an even length from the edge throughout the whole thing. Jay, why not doesn't like K-pop? He complains about it like every time. He doesn't want to step through the void. Alright, so like under here, coming up, this is trying to be bunchy under there. Okay. Also, a random thing that I found out by accident, and I need to get like a new sewing foot, probably, to make things easier on myself. But there's a little plastic part right there, like right here. There's a little plastic part. And normally it's clear and you can see your fabric through it. And then there's like a little tiny like notch right at the edge there, right before where the needle hits, that you can use to help you line things up. Like if I make gloves, the way that I make them, I actually draw the lines that I need to follow so that I can get around the fingertips more accurately, I guess. And one time I got like marker on this thing, and since I happened to have like nail polish remover next to me because I was doing like the gems for Sailor Pluto and I was painting them with nail polish, so I had some nail polish remover on a paper towel next to me, so when I got marker on the plastic thing, I decided to use that to wipe it off. It turns out that when you put nail polish remover on these, it makes them really cloudy and it messes up the plastic so I can't really see through it anymore. So some sort of science happened that I wasn't expecting. So that was something I found out by accident. Yeah, a lot of them are breaking up and, like, disbanding and losing people. Kevin left UKS, and then Shanice met him. Did you see that? Shanice posted on Facebook that she met Kevin at KCON. She was like, oh yeah, I was walking around and just Kevin from UKISS was just walking around. It's like, oh, okay then. Wow. That's sad. Oh, she posted a video too? She recorded it and didn't realize it. You should send me the link to her video. Okay, so the edge of the fabric keeps wanting to curl under, and the part where it's pinned keeps wanting to get bunchy. The pins are supposed to be helpful, so I feel like this isn't fair. I feel like this sleeve so far is less annoying than the other one though. The other sleeve for some reason was like really annoying. Hopefully the sewing isn't really loud this time, since last time I was able to get the noise gate to work out for me, and this time I haven't been able to. Was that dead side or dead inside? Probably it was. Okay, dead side. Thank you for the follow. Good night, Link Wolf. What time is it? Okay, it's only 11:30. It's not bad yet. I'll probably go either until I get this and the turtleneck attached. I'll go at least until then, or I'll probably go until like maybe 1 a.m. Probably around 1 a.m. I should think about ending so that I can go to bed. So kind of however that goes. Oh, and I feel like I'm not gonna sew my fingers together because I generally have my fingers like this, so they'll hit the foot before they get close enough to the needle for me to actually sew into my fingers. So I'm usually not too worried about accidentally sewing my fingers. As long as I don't, stick my fingers in here. Alright. last time since I had the noise gate working where it wasn't picking up the music if I listened to it without headphones. It seemed like the sewing machine was also quiet last time. So hopefully it's not really loud this time since I don't have it the same way. I mean, I'm pretty sure it happens to people. Like, I'm pretty sure I have had people say that it has happened. Alright. So we're past the halfway mark at least. Ugh. These pins are also, like, stabbing into my fabric. But at least this fabric is less prone to getting holes in it. So it should still be okay. And then also, one of the things you want to do, I guess another sewing tip is if you need to fix your fabric under the sewing foot, you want to make sure your needle is still down in the fabric. That way you can't get off track from your stitching line. And if I pulled the needle up right now and then put it back down and then continue sewing, it might end up with like a random like loop of thread from the space from where you moved it. So that's why like I'm kind of lifting this up and like making sure everything's good under there, but leaving the needle down so that it'll continue in the right place. But yeah, this sleeve is being a lot nicer to me than the other one was. I do not know why. The other one, just like from the get-go, the two fabric sides wanted to be separate from each other. And then it kept bunching up if I made them even. Alright, so I guess I almost just did something bad right there because I just kind of put my finger over here because I thought that there was like a little bunchy thing appearing and I just kind of was like, oh! And then I was like, oh! No, don't do that. Oh. I don't want to know how terrible it would feel for that to go into my finger. Like, I got bitten by a cat, and it was pretty bad. I don't want to know what it feels like to have this thing go into my finger. Because it's gonna go down hard if it goes in my finger. Ugh. I should, like... I need to actually, like, have tissues nearby. I'm sorry, I'm gross. But my nose, like, runs just all the time. Just all the time. It is never not running. So I'm sorry. I try to wipe it with the back of my hand at least, so that I'm not like the person that's like, oh, let me wipe my nose and then touch everything. I try to use like part of my hand that's not gonna like touch things or like touch people. But then I just realized that my hand was probably gonna be wet when I put it back in front of the camera, and then you guys would have seen my finger all wet and shiny in the back of my hand, not my finger, but yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I just feel like I should just get that out there now. In case you haven't already noticed, I'm gonna be wiping my nose a lot. Alright, we're in the home stretch. I can see where we started. And this is the other fun thing, is trying to make sure that you line it back up with where you started. Which is another thing that ended up a little bit wonky on the other sleeve. Because when the fabric wanted to do its own thing, I ended up going a little bit off from my line over here. So when I ended, it wasn't in the exact same spot as when I started, so I had to kind of go at a little bit of an angle to have it actually meet up with itself again. Alright. And since the sleeve kind of comes in at an angle right here, it's almost kind of like a V right here. So, kind of have to go with it to make it line up again. And since there's a seam under here, you're sewing through more layers than the rest of the sleeve, and it makes it more difficult for it to like slide under the foot. So the fabric doesn't always want to move through there. And this is the part where it would help me if this is clear right now, because I can follow my stitching line and see it going into the needle, like being directed towards the needle. And I can't really see it that well now because science. Okay, and then like I said when I started, now I'm gonna use this backstitch button that just sews in place. And one more time. Okay, and then I can lift the needle out and then cut the threads, and hopefully we'll find out that we have a nice seam all the way around with nothing strange happening. And I think we do. I think we're good. Alright, so let's find out together. So, looks good so far. Yeah, looks good so far. Caught the seam allowance sideways a little bit right here, but that should still be okay. Because ideally I wanted it to just kind of lay open flat like this, but this shouldn't really be a problem. This looks good. Have one little weird bunch right here. So right here. So I might need to take that out and resew over just this one little spot. And I think that's the only spot. But this thing doesn't want to focus on things close up today, so but the stitches are very tiny and they like zigzag like really close together, so they're hard to take out. Let me see what this looks like from the front. Okay, so this is what you'll get if you catch the fabric like that. You'll get like a little puckery bump thing. Since this is really form-fitted and stretchy, it'll be stretched out enough that it wouldn't be obvious, but because when I'm actually wearing it, you won't really be able to see as much. but I think I'll try and take that out since it's just one tiny little spot. Hopefully I can at least manage to just let out the stitch that's right over top of it and sew it back. If I can find my... Hello? This thing. And it's also difficult when you're using matching thread that you can't see as well to tell if you're actually cutting the thread or if you're cutting your fabric. And then when I re-sew this, I'm gonna have to make sure that I sew over top of the previous stitching line to lock the stitches in place again. Because now there's nothing holding these in anymore. But if I sew directly over top of them, that'll lock them in place again. Oh, yeah, he brought me tissues. I don't know, I've had like a runny nose like forever, and it doesn't seem to get any better or worse at any point in time, no matter what I do. But I have always had pets, so... But I don't feel like that's what it is. So if it is that, it's not obvious that it's that. My nose runs more when I eat. And if it's cold... Alright. Alright, so I think this sleeve is trying to make up for the fact that it wasn't as terrible as the other sleeve by being terrible now. Let me see if I can get this to work now. I might be able to get this on here now without all the pins. Alright. Let's see if this works now. And I'll sew from the outside now so I can see the part that wants to bunch up like that. Yeah, I'm still gonna have more sewing on this. I'm gonna need to sew on a turtleneck to finish the neckline. And I need to adjust the ankles to fit me better and then sew those together. What else? And then the wrist part, I'm gonna need to sew, I guess it's mostly those things. And then if I end up putting a zipper into the back, I've been contemplating whether or not I'm gonna use a zipper or not. Or if I'm gonna put like some sort of like hook and eye things to hold it closed in the back, where I cut it open in the back. Since I didn't have a back seam, I actually, when I went to Sparkle Pipsy's sewing panel, it was her and another cosplayer, and I didn't know the other cosplayer before I had gone. Her cosplay name is Daydreamer Nessa, so she was there too. So at the end, they had like people come up and like ask them questions and stuff if you were working on something. So I was like, do you have advice for putting in a zipper into the back of something that doesn't actually have a back seam? And she was like, you shouldn't do that, you should actually just make a back seam. And I was like, well, fuck, because I already did it. But it's gonna be covered up by my vest in the back, so whatever I do to the back isn't gonna be seen, so if it's a little bit weird looking, I don't really care that much. But I have to decide if I still want to put a zipper in the back or not. Because I'll still be able to put a zipper in the back, I think. It just, like, where the zipper starts will look weird. Because normally you attach the zipper, like, to the seam allowance, like this stuff. Like how the stitch line is here, and then you've got all this extra sticking off. Usually that's what you attach the zipper onto. But since I don't have a seam in the back, this doesn't exist. I have not sewn a zipper before, but I keep hearing that it's not as bad as it looks to sew a zipper. They said that too. They were like, what? Why haven't you sewn a zipper yet? Stop avoiding it. It's not as bad as it looks. I was like, but it looks like it could go so wrong. Okay, let me try and... I'm trying to make sure that I'm sewing over the same seam line again, but it's hard to see it. I can't tell. I think I am, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's like I'm kind of blind right now because I can't see through the plastic. Alright, I need to get my face in here. Huh. Ugh. gonna backstitch right here. Alright, let's see. Hopefully I got on top of there. It's hard to tell. I think I'm just slightly off of it. But it looks like we at least fixed the little pucker problem. Take it from me, I've done it before. Oh yeah. Alright, so we got rid of a weird puckle. Kind of. It still kind of wants to be there, but it's not actually being grabbed by it like it was before. So now when it stretches out and is fitting me, it should be better. But I think it looks like my original line was kind of right here, and the new line is kind of right above it. So I'm gonna try and go over that one more time, because I don't want to wear this and then find out that the stitches are gonna come out and I'm gonna have a hole in my armpit. I think the start is okay though, maybe? I mean, like I said, it's hard to get the stretch stitches out. They kind of want to stay in there anyway. And like when I'm stretching it right now, the thing is popping out. But I don't want to wear it and find out when I'm in public that I'm like, yay! And then all of a sudden my armpit is like... I'm also really nervous for the crotch doing that. I'm gonna have to try to not like do like weird poses with my legs stretched out. Because, oh no. The way that I did the crotch seam, since I didn't want front and back seams, normally with the front and back seam, you're able to like add more fabric to the crotch, essentially, so that you have more movement. Because like if you ever like fold your pants in half, and it does like that thing where it's like a triangle kind of shape at the crotch, like if your pants are folded in half, that. You can't really do that without the front and the back seams for it to be able to do that. So I didn't want front and back seams, so mine isn't like that. So I used a pair of my leggings that also don't have a front or a back seam, and I did the shape that they are. But I feel like my leggings are a little stretchier than this fabric is, so I feel like, and then also, so like if you're sewing gloves together, when you trace your hand, if that's how you're making your gloves, you want to spread your fingers out when you trace them so that you have this extra space between your fingers, and you're not going to want to trace your hand like this where you've got a teeny bit of space, because then when you make your gloves, you're not going to have that extra space to move. So I think I probably needed to spread my pattern legs out when I did it this way, so that when the crotch seam is right in here, that when I did it, it was kind of more like this, so there's not as much space. So I think probably when I made the pattern, I probably needed to like spread the legs out for the pattern and then add more, so that I'd have more bendy room. So I don't have a whole lot of that. So hopefully I don't split my crotch open when I'm at the convention either, because that would be kind of embarrassing. go over this one more time. Just Velcro it on. Alright, let's see if that's better. Yeah, hopefully that'll be good. Because now it's just like a big blob of threads. Hopefully they're all gonna hold each other together. I was kind of like, maybe I should just like, wear the same colored underwear underneath. So if something goes horribly wrong, it won't be as obvious. I don't know what is the deal with this. Okay. So then the other thing that you need to remember to do after you sew every seam is to cut off the extra threads. I don't know why this loopy thing is here. That might have been from not holding down the thread when I started. I'll just leave it there. So I'm not trying to win any awards with this one. Right. So that's at least a little better than it was before. And then, like I was saying, with lining up the armpit seam, that's where it is, right there. So, I think the other one came out a little bit better, but it's still, for the most part, pretty lined up. It's like slightly off. Let me see if I can find this thread on the other side so I can pull it through. Because this is from the one that I was taking back out. This is hurting my brain. Alright, I need to get to the inside of my sleeve. Where are you? Trying to see where it's pulling from on this side so I can pull it back out from this side. Might be right there. I don't know if that's it or not. There it is. Alright, So I pulled it back out through this side so I can cut it from the inside. Otherwise, if I trimmed it from the outside, it might have still left a little tiny nub sticking out on the outside. Well, that's why I follow along with the lines that are on here. So the different lines are obviously a different length away from the stitches. So I choose the one that lines up with the one I need, and then I just make sure that the edge of the fabric stays in line with that the whole time. People recommend to not look at the sewing needle when you're sewing, because then you'll be more likely to go off track. I look at the needle when I'm sewing if, like I said, when I'm making gloves, I actually sew the pattern onto the fabric while I'm doing it so that I have a line to follow for the gloves to make the fingers. So in that case, I do look at the needle. But I know that I'll hear other people recommending to not look at the needle while you sew. I know Bianca is always like, Sam, I don't know what is wrong when I sew, but it's like, I don't remember. Do you remember? He has headphones on now too. Do you remember what Bianca said her sewing was like what her thing was? Because it was something ridiculous. I don't remember what she said, but it was like, it's like a drunken so-and-so doing something or other, like, I don't remember what she said, but she apparently cannot sew in a straight line either. But I just always follow that thing, and it usually works out for me. Yeah, something that Bianca would say. Like, for anybody that doesn't know Bianca, she's like the crazy friend. She's really awesome, and she's got like the biggest heart on the planet, but she has no shame. She will post pictures of herself on the toilet on Facebook, looking cute on the toilet. So, she is not afraid to do or say anything. So she said something like really funny when she said that she couldn't sew, but I don't remember what she said. Alright, so now I'm gonna trim down the seam allowance like I did for the other side. And try and make sure that the sleeve is in there and not trying to come out and say hello so that I don't cut it by accident, because that is harder to fix. It also helps a lot that I have this sewing machine now, since it's a computerized machine rather than just a regular, like, motorized machine, like it's digital computerized. I can control the speed on it a lot better than I could on the one I was using before this. So when I first started making my Jareth cosplay, I started on a different machine that I was borrowing from a family member. And it was not computerized. So it was really difficult to control the speed, but this thing actually has a little like speed slider that sets a limit for how fast you can sew. So it still depends on how hard I press on the pedal, but I can set the maximum speed limit so that even if I press the foot pedal all the way down, it's not going to go any faster than that. and that helps a lot. But halfway through my Jareth costume, when it got closer to my birthday, well, I don't know, I think my mom got it for me as an early birthday present. I forget now. But as a birthday or Christmas present, my mom ended up getting me this sewing machine. And I was really impressed that she got me one that actually, like, had all the stuff that I wanted, because, like, I hadn't asked her for one or, like, told her really, like, anything about what I would have wanted, and she didn't say, like, oh, by the way, I'm shopping for you for a sewing machine. But apparently she, like, went, I guess she got it, I think she got it from Joann's. But she apparently just went and, like, told them that I was making costumes, I guess, and asked what they would recommend. And so they recommended this one, and it turned out to have all the stuff that I wanted, so it made things a lot easier. Okay. Blood. Let me find some scrap fabric from the leftovers that would be good to use for the turtleneck. And I'm gonna make the turtleneck like a stubbier one, I guess. I don't want it to come up very far. Because I kind of noticed in my Sailor Pluto pictures, I think the choker around my neck was actually kind of more unflattering for me, I guess, because I guess my face is kind of wide, like here, and it kind of like took away the definition between my jaw and my neck to have the choker right here. So a lot of my pictures, I feel like I'm kind of like I look like I'm like this, and there's like nothing between my neck and my chin. It's like I don't have a chin. And when I kind of like held fabric onto myself like this, so like if I have this real high right now, see? Do you see what I mean? Like, to me, like it makes my face look really wide, and I have like no chin, and I just look like this. So I need to make sure that when I make this, that it's not going to come up very high on my neck, and so it'll serve the purpose of looking like a turtleneck like this without it coming up very far, because then it's like, I have no neck. She's not chinless. Alright. I don't know where my measuring tape is off the top of my head. It likes to run away. It's over there. It's not up to my interpretation to decide if she has a chin or not. She was a fictional character that was made by somebody, and the person that created her gave her a chin, so. Alright. Does someone want to, like, read this for me? Alright. So cool. So it's like 12? Right? Yeah. 12? Yeah. Couldn't you just measure your pants? What? If pants fit around your neck, they will fit your waist. What? How though? Like the pant leg fits around your neck? Or... and then how does your pant leg fit over your head? I'm confused. But, like, my waist isn't 12 inches around. I'm really confused. Like, my waist is like 24.